Hi, my name is Yui. I'm happy to be a guide for you in this series. We aim to bring the knowledge of the Microsoft security products for you so that you can understand and apply these technical configurations for your real business. In the previous video, we tried to protect the sensitive information in Microsoft Office 365 in the organization. Now we will work on the protection in the cloud in general. So in this video, you will learn how to protect and apply controls on information with Microsoft Cloud App Security. You will see how to create policies to protect your information in the cloud, lock down files that pose a threat, and control user access to corporate resources. This is the Cloud App Security homepage where you can create policies and apply controls to protect your information in the cloud. So let's start by verifying a few prerequisite settings. First, select the Settings button. Next, select App Connections. App connectors use the APIs of app providers to enable greater visibility and control by Microsoft Cloud Security over the apps you connect to. Cloud Security has 13 app connectors users can leverage to gain insights and apply policies. So in this case, verify that Office 365 and Box API are connected apps, and then follow the prompt to check the rest of the prerequisites. Scroll down the page and select the Azure Information Protection. Here you can see that Azure Information Protection is set to automatically scan new files for Azure Information Protection classification labels and content inspection warnings. Now scroll down to Files and ensure that the box is checked to enable file monitoring. So the checkbox is selected, which enables cloud security to see files in your SSS apps. Now that we have verified our settings, let's create some policies. So the first policy will protect documents containing social security numbers. Okay, so select File Policy. So file policies are the right tool for finding threats to your information protection policies. So for instance, file policies can find places where users store sensitive information, credit card numbers, and third-party ICAP files in your cloud. So provide policy name. Here, scroll down to continue configuring the policy. You can create a filter for the files this policy will act on. So we will filter this policy to act on box files. Next, select the inspection method. Okay, so you can choose non-built-in data loss protection or Microsoft Data Classification Service to classify the files in your cloud apps. So we will select Data Classification Service. Next, choose the inspection type. We will select Sensitive Information type. So to protect files containing sensitive information, you can select Custom or Default Sensitive Information types. So in this case, the policy will protect documents that contain social security numbers. So let's select for SSN. We'll select all of the information types and then select Done. Next, to help us review the results, select Unmatch the last 4 characters of the match. So scroll down to continue. We'll also select Create an alert for each matching files. Next, scroll down the page to configure governance actions. Next, scroll down and select Apply Classification Label. Let's select an Azure Information Protection Classification Label to apply to matching file. We'll select Highly Confidential, Reject, Falcon, and then scroll down to create the policy. Okay, so the file policy was created successfully. So now let's configure a second file policy to warranting sensitive PDF files that are shared externally. So provide a policy name and then scroll down to the page. Next, specify the filters for this policy. So we'll filter for files with asset levels of public, internet public, and external. So we'll also filter for files that have a PDF extensions. Okay, so next select the checkbox to create an alert box for each matching files and then scroll down the page. So under governance actions, select box and then scroll down the page to select the action you want to take. The admin quarantine option enables you to protect your files in the cloud and remediate problems, as well as prevent further leaks from occurring. Select Put in Admin Quarantine and then create the policy. Now that we have been creating the policies, let's test them out. Open a new tab in your browser to go to the box. Select the files and then click or tap Open. Now that the files are uploaded, let's share the PDF document. So we'll share the file with ourselves using the IT admin email address we'll sign in with. Cloud Security scans, send documents, and searches for matches to your policies. Note that the scan can take several minutes to complete. So let's return to Cloud Security to monitor the evolution of the scan. Here you can see all the files discovered by Cloud Security, and if a policy match was discovered, icons to the right of the file names indicate apply governance actions. So in this case, the icons indicate that the Azure Information Protection label was applied and that the files were moved to the wanted folder. So select the first file to view more details. Here you can see the match policies and the scan status of the file. So now let's navigate to the alerts page to view the related alerts. Okay, so select the alert to view more information. Scroll down the page to review the alert details. Now let's return to box. The V2 indicators next to the top two files show there are new versions of these files. The original versions was sent to the quarantine by the file policy. Next, you will learn how to control user access to corporate resources with Conditional Access App Control. Conditional Access App Control enables user app access and sessions to be monitored and controlled in real time based on access and session policies. Conditional Access App Control utilizes a reverse proxy architecture and is uniquely integrated with Azure Active Directory Conditional Access. First, open the Azure Active Directory. To navigate to the Conditional Access page, scroll down and select Security. Next, select Conditional Access. And if you are using Azure ID as your identity provider, you can use Azure ID Conditional Access to enforce asset controls on your organization's applications based on certain conditions. So let's create a new Conditional Access policy. Provide a name for the policy. Next, specify the users and groups this policy applies to. So in this case, we'll apply the policy to all users. Next, specify the class this policy applies to. And you can select all clouds in your organization or specific apps. In this case, let's enable this policy for specific apps. Next, scroll down to specify the asset control to enforce this policy. And you can apply asset and session controls to protect data with Conditional Access App Control. In this case, let's apply a session control. To monitor and control sessions in real time, we'll configure this policy to use Conditional Access App Control. Next, choose the specific. And you can choose a built-in policy, including monitor only or block downloads. Or you can use a custom policy which needs to be configured in cloud security. So in this case, we will select Use Custom Policy. Enable the policy and create it. Now that we have successfully created the Conditional Access Policy, so we need to set up Conditional Access App Control. So let's sign out of the Azure portal. Here you can see that we have logged into Exchange Online using Outlook. Signing into Outlook enforces the Conditional Access Policy, which redirects the session to cloud security. Now it will be possible to configure Conditional Access App Control for this application. So let's close the window and return to cloud security. Select the setting icon. Next, select Conditional Access App Controls. You can see that Microsoft Exchange Online appears as a connected application. Next, select Control. Select Policies. The policy page shows a list of policies that can be filtered by name, type, status, severity, and category. So let's create a new policy. We will create a session policy for the Microsoft Exchange Online application. Provide policy name. Next, specify the session control type. In this case, we'll select Control File Download with DLB. Next, scroll down to continue configuring the policy. So let's apply this policy to a specific app. So we'll select Microsoft Exchange Online, which is one of the applications we configure the Conditional Access Policy to apply to. So we need to choose the inspection method. We'll select Data Classification Service. Next, choose the inspection type. So we'll select Sensitive Information type. To protect file containing such sensitive information, you can select Custom or Default Sensitive Information types. In this case, let's search for CSSN. So we'll select Use as Social Security Numbers and then select Done. Next, select the action to be applied when a user activity matches the policy. So we'll select Block to explicitly block file downloads according to the policy filters we set and to monitor on activities. And next, choose how to notify a user when a file download is blocked. So we'll select Customize Block Message. Specify message. Next, scroll down and create the policy. Now that we've successfully created the session policy, so let's sign out of the cloud security and test our configuration. Let's sign into Outlook to see how the session policy monitors and controls our activities in real time. Before accessing the application, we'll redirect through cloud security and notify that access to Microsoft Exchange Online is monitored. So let's continue to Microsoft Exchange Online. Now we send a test email to the administrator account we are logged in as. So let's attach sensitive documents to the message. Now send the email. After a few seconds, the email appears in our inbox. Let's select the email to view the attachments. So open the Word document containing personal employee information. As you can see, the document contains employee social security numbers. Let's attempt to download the document. As expected, the session policy blocks the download and triggers an alert in cloud security since this file contains sensitive information. Now let's try to download a spreadsheet. So we are able to download the file because it does not contain social security numbers. Now that we have validated the policy configurations, let's return to Cloud Security. So in Cloud Security, navigate to the Alerts page. Here you can see an alert triggered by our session policy, showing that a sensitive file download was blocked. So let's select the alert to view more details. Expand the activity log to view more information. Here you can see that the session control blocked the personal employees information file from being downloaded. And you can also see the policy that triggered the alert. To investigate the user activity further, you can choose from a list of actions. Select View on User Activity. The activity log now shows all of the user's activities. For example, you can see that the workplace innovation.sls file was downloaded successfully. One of the activities includes an icon that indicates the user was redirected to Cloud Security. Next, we'll create a session policy for SharePoint. Before we begin, let's sign in and out the SharePoint to enforce the Conditional Access policy. Sign up the SharePoint application. Next, sign back into SharePoint. Now let's return to Cloud Security to create the session policy. Microsoft Cloud App Security session policies enable you to take different actions depending on the policy you set for a user session. So we will create a session policy that uses the reverse proxy capabilities of Conditional Access App Control to block and protect files on download from SharePoint. So provide policy name. Next, select the policy severity. So we will select medium. Next, specify the session control type. And you can choose to monitor user sessions, block activities, control file download, or control file upload. So in this case, we will select control file download with DOB. You can filter the activities this policy applies to. Let's apply this policy to a specific app. We'll select Microsoft SharePoint Online. So we need to choose an inspection method. Select Data Classification Service. Next, choose the inspection type. We'll select Sensitive Information type. In this case, the policy will block and protect downloads of files that contain credit card number. Next, select the action to be applied when a user activity matches the policy, test, block, or protect. So let's select protect to apply a classification label to downloads and monitor on activities. Next, select an Azure Information Protection classification label to apply to matching files. We'll select Confidential Finance. Next, scroll down and create the policy. Now let's sign into SharePoint to test this session policy. This message indicates that the policy we set is now active. Continue to SharePoint Online. Select the Northwide customer data file. And you can see that the file contains sensitive information. Next, select View Policy Tip. And the policy tip indicates that default test access to the item is blocked for everyone except its all, last modifier, and site owner. So let's close the pane and download the file. Open the file. At the top of the page, you can see the message that we configured when we created the SharePoint policy. Next, select View Permissions. And as expected, the policy authenticated you to view the workbook and label the files as confidential finance. You just learn how to create policies to protect your information in the cloud, lock down files that pose a threat, and control user access to corporate data. Thanks for watching.